The most news in the morning. CNN's American Morning. Weekday, 6 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, we'll have to look
day.
at each other and shake our heads and go, we fooled him again.
Once we get over the fact that we're still hanging around with each other after 40 years, it's it's pretty amazing.
And then still having an audience too. I mean, the fact that we can say, okay, we'll go out on tour this summer, but that's what we'll look out at the audience sometimes and look at each other and think, why are these people here? You know, that's when we're fooling them.
So why do you think they are here so many years later?
I don't know. It's something.
There's no humble way to answer that question.
Let's show me a little hubris here.
It's amazing. I think it's a combination of things that have happened over the last few years that have kind of reignited Rush fans, and I think obviously this documentary that came out this year, which seems to be very popular, has brought renewed interest in us, and our hardcore fans are always here. And then I think a combination of things.
One thing that I remarked on, and when we look out and see people that care so much about what we do, you can't help but care about it more. You know, just the fact that it's a kind of responsibility, that dedication. But on the other hand, it's an automatic response to want to live up to it. So that forces us to make each show as if it's the last one we're ever going to do, and the audience senses that dedication. I think so. It's a feedback. It's a loop, really, that we feel inspired by what they give us, and they're inspired by what we give them.
There isn't but a handful of bands who have made it as long as you guys have. Geddy, what do you think is the magic that has allowed you to do that? Is it the fact that you and Alex were high school buddies who grew up with the same musical influences, wanted to do the same thing? I know that Neil is still the new guy.
That's right.
A mere 36 years. But my theory is that we all make the same number of mistakes, so nobody can get mad at each other. There can't be factions forming, you know. If somebody has a bad night, somebody else has a bad night the next night, and we all feel kind of an equal basis that way, where there's never any competition about it.
Yeah, the strange truth is that we like each other, and for some ridiculous reason we still enjoy what we do tremendously, and we like the music that we're making together, and it kind of begins and ends with that. So when we get into rehearsals, or we're planning a tour, or we're planning something, we have a good time, and we kind of still believe in what we're doing, and we keep wanting to push the boundaries of what our abilities allow us to do.
Also, we're equally handsome, so
Yeah, the same number of girls are equally impressed by our vision every night.
When everybody is as handsome as everybody else, there are no egos involved.
Everybody's a lot of band breakups. You'd be surprised.
almost equal.
So you guys are pushing 60 now. 57 years old,
I
just
would say
turned.
late 40s. 4017
Late middle age.
last month.
Well, 50s, the
I
late
hate-
50s is the new late 40s,
I
right?
hate to break it to you from a guy who's in his early 50s. You guys are beginning to get close to that magic number. So I'm just wondering what it is that gives you satisfaction. Is it coming out here and playing the music? Is it recording the music? Is it family? Is it friends?
Well,
What
it's all those
Yeah.
things. Playing a great show gives me immense satisfaction. Every night I look forward to playing the best that I can. And that we all play the best that we can and come off stage that way. I look forward to spending every second I can with my grandkids, with being with the rest of my family, with playing golf, with all those things.
A measure of life is all those things, how successful you are at home as family people, as we have all been as well. And cooking a good meal for your family is satisfying as playing a good show for an audience. You know, they're on different levels, but they all contribute to your sense of accomplishment and meaningfulness.
This was 1981. Moving Pictures had just come out, and Geddy, you and I sat down in Toronto and talked about it. Here's the video.
On Vital Signs, we see Rush again using a little bit of reggae, something that started with the spirit of radio. How big an influence is that becoming in your music?
Well, yeah, I think it's a real positive kind of music, reggae music. Especially the way it's been sort of melded into rock music, the way it is, like the Police and various groups.
You got bangs.
Who is that kid?
Smoking a smoke back there.
Oh my!
Wow. Going underneath the desk.
I saw that on camera.
You and I look exactly the same. How is that possible?
Time trickers.
Gives you the feeling that it's...
Look at those glasses eating my entire face.
When you look back at that old interview, do you feel the same about the things that you were saying back then, the direction that you were going in?
When I see an old interview with myself, I'm struck by my naivete sometimes, but also how in some ways I still agree with myself back then. You do change. Obviously, life changes you. Your opinion and your outlook on your values and things that are important to you do change. But there's talking about the music and what made us write that music has not really changed that much.
So you musically, at least, you had your head screwed on pretty well back then?
Well, I think so. Not everyone would agree with that, but it doesn't feel that dissimilar to the way we look at writing music now.
It's interesting that you can maintain that consistency over that period of time.
Well, yeah, life should be growth, really. Change is a bit of a misnomer in that way, because you don't want to alter the person you were. I often think as a musician of myself at 16 or 17, what would I think was the right thing to do when I was a 17-year-old drummer? And that integrity should survive, and you should be able to look back at old interviews and say, I still feel that. Old songs, you know, songs we wrote 30 and 40 years ago. But they were still true. They're still true for me now. I have grown in many ways, but it still embraces the kernel of what I began.